Hey everybody, this is JR from West Virginia and Commonplace, and I am here to tell you about Anchor Nebula and their Go Anywhere series of projectors. They are some of the best projectors you can use when you're on the go, going camping, just even around the house. And these models include the Capsule 2, the Capsule 3 laser, and the brand new Mars 3. So definitely take time to go out and grab one of these projectors, and you will be immersed in an experience that you're not going to get anywhere else. Remember, Anchor Nebula is the way to go.
WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Welcome to WV Uncommon Place. This is Stacey.
And this is JR.
Please don't do that again.
I just want to, I just like to sing sometimes. I don't have a voice that sings, but when I get on the mic, I just want to sing.
Get your hands off the mic.
Or do some 1980s Billy Ocean type shit.
We're going to teach him some manners today. So tell me what's going on in your world of podcast. Like, what are your plans for the future? And where are you at right now?
Well, let's get started here. I'm JR. Y'all know me already. West Virginia Commonplace. We are in the great thick of things right now.
Yes.
September, October are the greatest months of podcasting. And I don't know why I'm moving around and getting all mysterious real quick. So here's what we have on the end of Uncommon Place, if you don't mind me talking about it real fast. In the month of October, we have our normal interview episodes on Thursday, but on Saturday, I am covering one of my favorite topics, computer love.
Okay.
The first one came out this past Saturday about MySpace. I'll be talking about Facebook, Instagram, and I forgot what else. I think it was America Online. Oh, yeah, ASL,
okay.
Age, Sex, and Location.
AOL? Oh.
Yeah, AOL, but ASL,
okay.
Age, Sex, Location. Everybody knows that. So that is just a fun thing that we're getting going there. Starting to get things lined up for the Comic-Cons because everybody's putting their information out early, so we're able to just get that stuff together. And then I had to make a hard decision for us.
Hold on. Let's go back to Comic-Cons. I am so excited for Lexington Comic-Con.
Shout out for Owensboro Comic-Con, too, that they put on this past weekend.
Had this past weekend. Unfortunately, I had some babysitting auntie duties going on, and we weren't unable to come down, but we would have loved to have made it. I am impressed already with Lexington because they have their guest already signing up. They're announcing all that stuff. The one that is closest to us, I feel like that is the one that I have enjoyed the most. And, it's still quite a distance away, but their overall personality, atmosphere, the way that they run the group, all of that stuff, I feel like the Lexington Comic-Con actually cares about their people that are coming in there. And, I feel like the people that they are selling tickets to, like us, are a little bit more important than their celebrities. I get that feeling.
Yeah, and I feel like they care so much, because they're actually, each weekend, every day they've been announcing something, even though they got that conference going on right now as we speak in Owensboro, they are still announcing. I seen Bluey somewhere. I seen Bluey in the cover.
Yes. I feel like next year for the Lexington Comic-Con, or Comic and Toy Convention, I forget how it's worded, so I apologize. But make sure you go follow them on Facebook, because they are putting stuff out there. And if you have younger kids that have any type of inkling towards those cartoon movies, might be something enjoyable to take them to, because they do have a lot of voice actors coming already next year that are, like you said, Bluey,
so many
is it Tom Kenny? Is that his name?
Yeah, so many people
SpongeBob guy.
It's crazy that they've announced a lot.
Yeah.
So crazy thing that I want to talk about with them real quick is having a conference in March.
Yes.
the smartest thing ever you can do. Because people are just starting to get warm again, because we're getting cold now.
Yes.
We enjoy
the cold.
But I'll be thawed out by the time that one comes out. And I know I got to wear a light jacket, but it's not June, July, or May.
I would rather it be cold than hot in one of those places because the amount of people that are there.
And just that. So that's something that I have to get geared towards. And then with the show and all, and this is the hardest thing, and this is for the podcasters now, this is y'all's favorite spot with me. I had to make a hard decision for us.
Yes.
Because we're doing the review show and we're doing my show.
Yes.
Which my show is basically, it's not a clusterfuck, but it has everything under one realm.
Right. You have a wide variety.
So I like the element of us getting into just doing this review stuff. Like, even if it's just food, if it's a book, if it's just something you write on a piece of paper and we figure out the difference between A and B in cursive to regular writing, let's review it. I had to make a hard shift on something. I want to be inside the podcast industry.
Yes.
But because of certain ways you have to do this and that to get someone to notice you in the podcast industry, I'm not taking a back seat to it, but I want to develop what we have going on here.
Right. Because unfortunately, the way that we have perceived it, is that the word I want to use?
Yes.
A lot of people are finding it hard to make money inside of a podcast unless you are first willing to put out twice the amount that you're going to make.
And I don't see that as a business strategy that I want to do.
Right. And that's hard for some people. If you're doing this because, hey, I'm just doing this because I want to have fun. Yes, absolutely. If you're jumping in like, hey, I don't want to pay anything, but I want to make a buttload of money, then that might not be the right path for you.
Right.
But if you also have the money to invest and you're willing to put the effort and time and like all that dedication into it, it's going to be something beneficial.
Yes. And what has happened to me in podcasting is, and we don't have no crying sob story. It was just real simple. Every time that I get involved with someone wants me to buy into what they're doing,
right,
but they don't want to invest in what I have going on or what I'm trying to present to the table. And I don't mind, because I did do this. I did do the stepping stone thing while I was helping someone else along the way. I got my foot in the door in certain places, and you see me in different arenas.
Right. And there have been some very supportive people, like Mr. Sanfilippo.
Yeah, Alex Sanfilippo and Pod Pros, his group over there.
Yes.
Amazing group of people.
If you haven't heard of him, you need to look him up or send us a message and we'll get you his information.
Yeah, get you hooked up with him real quick and out the way. And then there's other people that are inside the business that are very cordial and nice, but they want you to buy 100% into their product.
Right.
And what they want to give you back in return is not a superlative, not a reward to me.
Right.
So in going through these things, I've gone back and forth with this with about at least 8 people since PodFest until now. So on this episode, I'm going to make this major announcement, and I have to make this solid so everyone knows. I personally, at this moment in October, have decided to forego going to PodFest.
In my personal opinion, I'm not 100% sold on that answer yet, but it could be a day before we would want to fly or drive out to change our mind. So we do reserve the right to change that statement.
And the thing the thing that's going on here is I'm living a boyhood dream right now. This is a whole different thing, and this ties into wrestling. At this moment, we have a chance to get media passes to Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Right.
And what people don't understand is that we have to put out money to travel to places and to do things. And I'm not asking for anyone to sponsor me on anything like that, but if there was a way to bridge both trips, I had to pick which one's going to be more important for the foundation of the podcast later.
Right.
PodFest was amazing for the reference and the intellectual stuff that I got from people and the different ideas.
But you also said that a big part of PodFest was what happened after PodFest.
The networking, yes.
Yes. I enjoyed being able to spend time in Florida, but I'm that type of person where I'm not going to come up to you and speak with you. And I'm that type of person. So it wasn't for me. You could walk up to anybody and have a 10-hour conversation and not know whether they walk on the left or right side of the street, you know?
Yeah. And then that's where my next thing comes in about this. Like, I enjoyed everything, and I met a bunch of the people, and I see how they interact and how they work. And the one thing inside of communities that I am not good at is I can interact with you as long as it's something that I have a perspective on. I'm not going to say an opinion. I'm just going to say perspective. But I can't dip and dab into constantly engaging with people on things that don't involve me or and I hate to say this, and this is the most selfish thing you'll ever hear from me, is everything has to have some point or position of an interest to me.
Right.
And for an example, Twilight, for instance, that's something that you wanted to do.
Yes.
When I was able to reference it and make it Star Wars, Castlevania-like for me, it became an enjoyment and a labor of love. Same example with what's going on with me with Harry Potter right now. Harry Potter is very exciting. But what I found when I was listening to it, it didn't have that same structure or toughness that Twilight had.
Yeah.
So with me, the hardest thing I'm going to end up...
But that's the difference, though, in Twilight and Harry Potter. And sorry to go into the Sparrows and a revere topic here. But Twilight, you can watch the movie and never read the book and you're fine. But if you're going to watch the movie and read the book, you're going to hate one or the other.
Yes.
Harry Potter, you can watch the movies and love them. You can listen to or read the books and you're going to love them. You can combine the movie and the book world and enjoy both of them. And that's the difference between Harry Potter and Twilight, in my opinion.
And see, I think that's a crazy thing that's going to end up happening with Harry Potter because of the shortage of the books. I'm going to actually have to read them, which I know I've got X amount of copies.
I've got 3 copies in there, yeah.
Right. So I'm going to have to just sit down and read them. And it's something that I will take the time to read because from what I listened to, because I got about 8 hours in on the first book.
Right. And it's what, 2 to 3 month wait? Sorry.
Yeah, to
2
get the
to 3
book.
month wait just to get the books. And you're not guaranteed in any sort of order. Like when I first started listening to the Harry Potter books, it was I reserved the first one and it had a 3-week wait on it. And then by the time I was done with that book, I had a 6-week wait on the second one and only a 3-week wait on the third one. So I'm just like,
yeah, and see, that's the craziness. Like, so I've on that, I'm going to have to sit down when I come back next week and start reading the books.
Yeah.
That way, because what we're trying to process with that, I'm trying to do, because the books are so lengthy, we'll have to do, it's going to take 2 months to do all the episodes.
Right. Because it's a lot of information. So back to the point of Podfest. If you are able to save money or you have the money to throw away on something like that, it is very enjoyable and it is something that I definitely recommend you to do at least once.
Yes.
But you need to be prepared to spend a lot of money once you get there. Don't forget that you have a security deposit with each car rental that you do. You have a security deposit with the hotel. You have to pay for parking in addition to your hotel. And then you also have to pay for parking at the venue. So you need to be prepared for all of that stuff. And we were not the first year. It worked. We had the money, but I wasn't prepared to, fork out that much money at one time.
Right.
And I wish somebody would have explained that a little better to us.
And the other thing though, that you have to be very careful of, we didn't stay at the hotel that they were at.
Right.
Which it wasn't an issue.
Right.
But when I went to the evening event, that networking that you and I did when we went to one evening event together, the evening event stuff brings out more of the industry people.
Right. And those were the 2 days that I went over and dropped you off, right? So we didn't have to pay the extra parking.
Right. And then when we met the lady from Asha and stuff like that, that's what I'm saying. Like, the thing is, I don't want anyone to not go to Podfest, but
you need to be prepared.
You be prepared. And if you pay for the video version, make sure you at least jump in the Whova app and coordinate with people.
Right. That's where you got all of your connections after the event.
Right. It was the Whova app. That is the most important thing outside of any of them videos you get. The communication and the stuff that breaks down from there. Now, getting further on into podcasting, so we have that going on.
Yes.
On the business side of things, it's shaping up a little different than what I was expecting.
Right.
So with it, my sometimes cinema business is something that I'm going to be working very hard with at the beginning of next year.
Yes.
So with West Virginia and Commonplace, the podcast as of today is finished until November 2024 if I don't record another episode for it. It's set in stone, curated, and ready to go. I don't do anything with it anymore besides unless we do something fun or if we're recording something out of the way.
Just like an extra episode to touch base like this.
Right.
Like I feel like a filler episode or just a bonus episode.
Right. Just something that moves around that kind of realm right there. And another thing is that now that I have set people that I like to involve myself with in podcasting, I'm to the point now where I don't do stuff with a lot of new people. I like everybody's new podcast and all these people around, nothing disrespect there, but like when I discontinued Podcast Collides and we still do Unfiltered series, I still bring on people that I know.
Right. And that's not him saying if you're a new podcaster, he's never going to do business with you. But it's if you have heard that he does do a lot of things with other podcasters and he is not available to do something with you, don't feel defeated or hurt feelings or anything like that. It's just his show is booked up until November. Now, if you are also a movie review podcast or you review products or any type of review type thing and you want to collab with us on Sparrows Under Review, just shoot him an email and that might be something we can discuss.
Yeah, definitely looking. I would like to get a little arc or something like that.
Sometimes it gets boring with just two people talking back and forth. We would love to have like a, what do you call it, a round table or open table or something like that.
And plus another way for us to get use of our 4 mics. Something that we're going to eventually, because we got 2 family members that have some opinions that I'd like to bring on. We ain't going to put them on Sparrows Under Review, but we'll put them on here.
I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, we should do that one weekend. We'll get that
one
going.
that's very opinionated.
Then here goes the negative part. I always like to get the negative stuff out here. So here's what's happened negatively inside podcasting. Money has disappeared. The formula for getting...
In the area that we are at.
At the area that we're at. And... the actual idea of sponsorship through your show. I can get sponsorship being an influencer. That's something that has been built inside of what we're doing. And that's the hardest thing I had to transition to because I always thought that everything had to be podcaster related. And now we're sponsored. We're getting different.
Now you're listening to me and finding out that follows and likes are important.
So now I've turned myself into a TikTok personality.
Yes.
I make videos. I keep little...
Yeah, so definitely if you're out there looking for some podcast information or maybe you have some stories like your podcast horror stories, let us know. We'll put you on we'll tell your story on TikTok. But make sure you are following WV Uncommonplace Podcast on TikTok. We do have to get to 3,000 followers in order for you to have your key. Yeah, which opens you up to the dual screen extra
doing all that
stuff.
Extra OBS type stuff. Yeah. So definitely need to get y'all there. And then no issue with Twitch, but Twitch has become everything I do is trying to be professional. That's one thing I keep as a hobby.
Right.
Twitch has been so hard to build people up with. And I want to do one thing real quick about the West Virginia and Commonplace podcast. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody in Central Virginia, everybody up in Washington State, and definitely this real quick roundabout everybody in the great state of Texas. Let me tell y'all this. When we did the Facebook Live for an episode, like I did a real episode on Facebook Live. I had so many people turn out for that. It was better showing than I ever did on Twitch.
And you didn't want to come to Facebook. You told me you didn't want to do Facebook for your podcast. And you finally listened. Who told you about it? Probably King Germ, wasn't it?
No, it was just, it was after I looked back and seen the results. I was like, wow, people really want to pay attention here. I said, I didn't announce anything, which I've learned that when you don't announce it.
Well, I mean, JR has this habit of, I might say something and I don't word it just right. And one of his buddies, either Rodis or King Germ or Dolomite will tell him the same exact thing, except for they might say, do this. And I was like, well, why don't you do this?
Yeah, because they are kind of tough.
I think they're a little more aggressive.
Right. and that's just how I am on certain things. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, and I will leave it at this, listener migration. Listener migration is already set out.
Yeah.
It has been put in its form factor. It will be completely written up, put into position. The Facebook group will be up and running. It will include the Snapchat integration, and then the whole idea of what I think listener migration is and why it's something that is not covered. And then from there, we will do heavier consulting with people if you want to get further involved or if you want to know more. And if you don't mind, real quick, these are just the small sets inside of it. Can I speak on those real fast? It'll just take a second. Number one, we're going to talk about podcast discovery. Number two, social media and sharing, because I learned something from a very important guy about a social media workout, and I still do that to this day. And one thing I can say about our life now with podcasting and stuff is it's not stressful.
Right.
We kind of just do this when we want to. We put our hair back in a ponytail and go, well, I don't have hair anymore, but when I did. Number three is how listeners are listening.
Okay.
Number four, platform sharing and exposure. Number five, devices and consumption. Number six, trial and error, because you have to, that's one thing that these gurus do not want to tell you. They don't want to tell you that you're going to fail first.
Right. And just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me.
Right. Then seven, value and analytics. When you listen to things and you pay attention to things, you have to take analytics in two methods. One is the face value, and then you have to treat them like a vanity metric. When it's something that's vanity, everybody knows what vanity is. It's something that's vain.
Right.
So you have to be careful with that. Vanity metrics don't mean anything at the end of the day.
Right.
That's one thing I want to put out there and be very clear about. But listener migration within those 7 steps there, I thought I had 10, but I only got 7. I'm going to keep it at 7 because I told y'all that's what I would do. But 7 right there, those things incorporate to listener migration. And it's important inside all kinds of podcast framework to actually know the idea of the listener experience.
Right. So here's one thing I want to challenge any podcaster out there that is listening to your episode right now. If you are at a sporting event, a concert, your child's school activity of some sort, it is football season, wrestling season's about to come up here soon, basketball, whatever. If you're out and about, take 2 seconds and share the podcast that you listen to somewhere. Whether you do it through Facebook, you tag the location. We did see a spike. You asked somebody to put one of the podcasts out there at a football game. Was it a football game?
Yes.
And we went from our Twilight episodes maybe did 20 to 30 people. The day you asked that person to share at that game shot up to 80.
Right.
That next day we had 80 listens on our 3rd Twilight episode. So it helps. If you enjoy West Virginia and Commonplace and you go to a rest stop, maybe you're a truck driver or you just travel a lot for work, share those people's podcasts out there on Snapchat. You do have to add that location and you need to share it to that location's story, I think is what it is. But just share it. Help someone out. That's a free way to support another podcaster without investing money in it.
Right. And I've said it so many times that I just, at this point, listener migration will be this is another thing I do need to announce. This will be my final dig into helping podcasters.
Okay.
If you want my help, I will always be around. But this is the last time I'm going to go out of my way and do something that's going to be in this vein.
But it has to be a tit for tat, as they want to call it.
Right.
Like you can't go out there and expect everybody to share your episode somewhere and you not help out a little bit.
Reciprocity is the greatest word.
Yeah. Well, I like tit for tat. It sounds just a little bit dirtier.
And other than that, nothing else too bad. It's just inside podcasting, we go through these growing spells.
Okay.
And what I have learned and what I've always felt since the pandemic, we're in one of those phases where a lot of those fading podcasts or people that were podcasting during the pandemic are falling off. There are a lot of inactive podcasts right now as we speak.
Right. And, we're getting to the point where people are going back to their normal life. Like those ones that actually decided to stay in all the time because of the pandemic. We're no longer listening to podcasts. Like me, I had like 5 or 6 of them that I used to listen to, and I don't listen to them now. And it's not because I didn't enjoy them. It's just because, I have so much going on right now. And, if I get some free time later on, I might pull it up. But it's going to take me a while to get back into it. So I can see why there are some what you call pod fading right now.
Right. And a lot of pod, like you said, what you were talking about.
And it's nothing negative towards a person if you let yourself do that, because, if you see that you're not getting anything off of it and you're just, I'm done. I want to take a step back. Yes, do it. Make that decision. No hate towards you. Whenever you decide you're done, is my opinion.
And that's a good opinion to have. And just getting that stuff full circle. So that's why I said that September and October are those months where we pull people back in because it's getting cold.
Right.
We had our first cold night last night.
Right.
And it made me realize that, hey, I may be inside sometime, but I'm going to listen to a podcast on that Alexa speaker or that HomePod that I'm supposed to be getting for Christmas, Mom. Just somewhere along those lines, I will take time, and even if it's filler in the background for certain things, it'll still take its place. So last thing I want to do here is I want to give an amazing shout out to every listener, every person that participates in some format to bring every single one of our podcasts across to people. I want to give you guys a big thank you if I don't do that enough. Stacey, thank you for your contributions and how you share and what you're doing with it. I know that you have all kinds of other endeavors that you're involved in, and with your job too.
Football season is almost over.
Right. And then shout out to West Virginia high school football as a whole. It has been really amazing this year. It has been. And then middle school football in West Virginia has been crazy too. And watching Stacey grow as a football parent, aunt, coach, player, before we're done with the season, she'll know a position.
Listen, I used to play football in high school on the Powder Puff team once a year.
But on that note, I'm JR.
And I'm Stacey, and we want to thank you for listening. Make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe, whatever, anything that's free helps us out.
Hey Capshovians, mark your calendars for January 23rd and 24th as we bring you the first ever Capshovians Live in Orlando. We are bringing together a dozen expert speakers to dive deep into the just one, key strategy you need to scale your marketing and your business in 2024. You get an exclusive peek into the future of the Capsho software and connect with leading industry figures. Whether you're looking to network with fellow entrepreneurs, learn from top-notch experts, or just want a memorable experience, this is the place to be. We are keeping this event intentionally intimate so that you're not just another face in a crowded room. Yes, we want to get to know each and every one of you, so spots are very limited, which means you're going to need to grab your ticket now. Go to www.capshovianslive.com and get in on the early bird pricing before it goes up. That's www.capshovianslive.com, and let's take on 2024 together.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at onecommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.